Hey everybody, welcome back to Live. I'm your host Nick Taylor, and today I'm hanging out with Raymond Camden, also known as Lord Fluffy Cat the Third of Duke of Mousetown. How you doing, Raymond?
I'm doing just fine. I don't know what I was smoking that day when I filled out that form. I must have been like, you know what it is? Like I'll listen to like trance music when I'm like really working hard, and then my brain just keeps going faster and faster and faster. And I was probably like, yeah, this is a good time to do a form and be serious.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's fun. It's funny. I mean, web devs will get it, I think, but yeah. So that's cool. So I guess for folks who might not know who you are, do you mind giving kind of like the lowdown of who is Raymond Camden, the myth, the man, the legend? And
Mm.
we can kind of start from there, and then we'll dig into what we're going to talk about today.
I'm gonna snip that part for my kids because my kids are not impressed by anything I do. Actually, that is a lie. I should say some of the Gen AI stuff I've done, like that has impressed them. But like everything else in the 20, 30 years I've been in development, like nothing. Uh
Yeah, yeah.
I am a developer evangelist slash advocate, have been for officially 15 or so years. Before that, 10 plus
Okay.
years, web dev, backend dev, etc.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you kind of been around the block. Yeah, I feel like we're in similar demographics. I'm assuming you're Gen X as well. So yeah, I still remember the good old Dreamweaver days, MM mouse over, etc. And I don't know, learning HTML in Notepad.exe. Anyways,
Home site was my jam back in the day, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool, cool, awesome. So no, thanks for the intro. And so we've got the topic today. So beyond the buzz, practical Gen AI, and you were saying this just before the stream a bit, but you're like, just enough to be dangerous. So I guess let's touch on that. I guess in your words, or where you're at in your Gen AI journey, not to sound too tacky, but what is Gen AI to you?
It is the ability to generate content based on a huge set of pre-existing data and write it in a natural manner, as opposed to like, doing a DB hit and getting this arrays of records back. Gen AI can
Yeah.
actually describe what it found and explain it in a semi-human sounding manner.
Yeah, and no, for sure. And I guess there's a lot goes into that too. Like there's, prompting things properly. Like I know uh we it's prompt engineering is very weird, I find, at least right now, because like I feel like you've probably had similar experiences, but like when I was working at open source, we had an AI offering, and like the prompts you'd literally have to scold and or like put things in uppercase. Like it sounds silly, but it's almost like you're scolding a child, like do absolutely do not do that, or like only do this if this happens, or like giving examples and stuff. And it's I don't know, I find it kind of funny in the sense that like it's definitely super powerful what you can, at least what I've seen with AI right now, but it's still kind of funny that under the hood it's a bit of smoke and mirrors to some degree, like
Yeah, prompt engineering is no joke. I remember when this was exploding 2 years or so ago, I think,
yeah.
and I heard people talking about prompt engineering. I was like, yeah, that's a made up job, and someone's gonna get very rich doing it, not me.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but like as soon as I started to work with Gen AI, I was like, oh, they're right. it's super important, and the best analogy I can think of is if you've done anything with a database,
Yeah.
SQL, you can get stuff done with like 5 minutes of knowledge almost, but you learn pretty quickly that good SQL, powerful, performant, etc., is like an art form, and it gets incredibly complex. And it's almost the exact same with Gen AI. You could start off with like, "Why is the sky blue?" And yes, that works, but then like the real usage just exponentially grows from those simple words to a lot more.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's like it's pretty wild. Like I remember I didn't really mess around with AI at all until the Chat GPT explosion. I remember doing a live stream with the actually it's a bit of I remember doing a live stream with Gant Laborde. He
Mm,
works over at Infinite Red and he does a lot of AI stuff. And he was showing me stuff with TensorFlow JS, but
mhm,
that was before like the chat experience started happening. So I got a little taste of AI, but it was really only once Chat GPT came out, and like since then it's been wild how fast things have been evolving. Like I remember like ChatGPT, I think the first one I used, I think it was 3.5. That was
mm.
the big announcement. It's like, ah, this is cool. And it's answering questions for me. But then it's like all of a sudden they had a better version. And then like uh I don't I've been using Claude a lot lately. I use it basically mainly for a lot of written content, not for it to write it for me, but like I've been using it for like I was talking to somebody on a podcast yesterday. Like I don't know, sometimes I get writer's block, and sometimes I just know like I finished something. I'm gonna blog about it, and I just literally do a brain dump on a Friday and I post it even though it's not edited. But other times I'm like sitting in front of the keyboard, and I found a flow I've been doing. I usually go for like a walk in the evening, and I started transcribing stuff. Just it was an easier way for me to get my ideas out,
Yeah.
and I kind of take that and then I throw that into Claude, and I just say like, "This is a rough draft of ideas. Can you like make it a little more coherent?" So it's like I wouldn't say it's writing the blog post for me, but it's definitely I use it as just kind of do some initial formatting, and then I kind of just go into kind of like not pair programming mode, but more like editor copy editor mode with it, and like this is good, change that. And I don't know. Do you use AI a lot for written content, or is it more for like because we were talking before just about like some demos and stuff. So like there's obviously silly AI demos you can do which showcase things, but curious how you're using it right now.
So I do a lot of technical writing, and
Okay.
I have definitely been using Gen AI, not in the creation aspect, but in the like feedback aspect. And
Okay.
9 times out of 10, what it tells me are things that I already knew if I would just have slowed down and thought about it.
Yeah.
But having that thing spit back to me things I already knew, but like organized and in front of my face, I find helpful.
Yeah.
You mentioned like pair programming, like it's like I've done the work, but having just even
Yeah.
someone who may not be as smart as me, AI is smart, but I kind of look at it as like a trainee, as a new dev, and
Yeah. Totally.
just having a second opinion on something, even if it's 100% wrong, that second
Mhm.
opinion like helps me clarify. Oh, you're wrong because of X, Y, and Z. It helps me feel more confident in what I created.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it's funny. I was talking to because like I've been using other tools. Like I don't know if you've messed around with like Bolt.new or like I've used V0 a little bit. But like the thing I've found is like or even Cursor. Like I've been using Cursor a lot as well. Y- it's really good like when you know what you want and you're like like because like I remember I overhauled somebody's UI. I was doing some contract work before I started a new role where I'm at now, and like I knocked it out in like 5 days. It was like a complete rewrite, but and it's not because I couldn't have written those things. It's like I didn't want to waste hours and hours writing out all these components, so it was ended up being more like this is what I need. And it was more like instead of you're still programming, but you're like a constant pull request reviewer to some degree as well. So
So I was writing some JavaScript code yesterday, and uh, vanilla JavaScript, and I
okay,
typically have 4 or 5 lines where I get a reference to a DOM element, like so
okay,
$sign chat results equals document query selector, whatever. And I do
yeah,
that such that later I can set the inner HTML, I can read values, I can add event listeners, whatever. Well, like almost all my code will start off with a couple of those assignments, and I wrote
yeah,
one, and then my code assist, which is Gemini, it
okay,
suggested not only the next one I needed, which was a button, it also
yeah,
suggested a click handler, which was 100% what I was going to write, and I was like, "Yeah, bam,
Okay.
accept it."
Yeah, no, that's super cool. It's yeah, that's where I see it being super helpful. It's like the the thing I've been finding interesting about this is like, and I've talked to a few people about this, but is like I just don't know what the learning path is for people coming in right now. Or even like even forget like programming for a minute. Like I think about my kids in high school, like one of my daughters did a project. She did really well on it, her and her friend, and because they both are good students that were working on the project, but the teacher immediately thought it was Chat GPT, and like she brought the receipts, kind of, and like, but there's that aspect of it in terms of like, it's easy, it's more accessible to just go and say, give me this thing, whatever. But the other thing I wonder about is like, and I'm curious on your thoughts on this too, but like people are going to need to use these tools in the real world, like once they finish school, or whatever they're doing. So like how do you find that balance of you need to learn the tools but you also have to still like absorb information, like you still need to know some basic things, like I mean it's been years, but I remember like when I did calculus, like I had all the derivatives memorized and like just certain things, and it's like if you're always asking Chat GPT or Claude or whatever, it's, you know, you are learning to some degree, obviously, and it can definitely make things more learnable. Like that's how I've learned other languages. But I still wonder, like, if you're not going through that, make your brain hurt a bit, like, so just curious on your thoughts there.
Eh, it's gonna be a person saying to themselves, "I'm not gonna cheat. I'm not gonna have it write all the code for me. I'm gonna have it help." Um,
Yeah.
I I was using GenAI for over a year, almost 2 years, and not touching anything code related at all,
Yeah.
because I know how to code. Like, not that I'm like super expert, but like I'm very comfortable,
Yeah.
and that's in JavaScript. And I've been learning Python. And when I started to use Code Assist for Python, it
Yeah.
was less, write this code for me, and more like, I don't understand these lines, explain it. So I was using it to help me, not as a
Yeah.
crutch, just to kind of get me along.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
that completely changed my mind about Code Assist, and I enabled it, et cetera, and went from there. But I have the discipline to
Yeah.
know like how much help I can take and what I really need to learn, and what yeah, it's just experience, I guess. And if you
Yeah.
are a brand new developer and you're letting it write all your code for you, I think you'll survive for a couple months, but you will crash and burn hard.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, and it's weird too. And Tony in the chats, he's being kind of funny, but like, your brain can only hold so much. That's true. So like, you got your second brain for sure. But yeah, to your point, like, yeah, you can get by, and like, I think there's probably an expectation from an employer too now, like, oh, just leverage AI, so move faster, potentially. So like it's, yeah, if you just keep doing that and you're pumping out stuff, it might not be the best stuff because you're not really kind of auditing it. If you're newer, you're just like, hey, the page works, and yeah, you're not learning anything, and that's where I struggle with. Like, I'm not so worried about people like yourself or myself because we've been in the industry for a long time. It For us, it's become immediate superpowers potentially, So it's, yeah, that's where I struggle, and I feel the struggle of newer people because they want to move fast too, So it's like,
Yeah,
I don't really have answers, but I just feel like I think people should still try and make their brain hurt a bit to learn things, but definitely don't say like I'm never using these tools,
yeah. I
yeah,
think
it's just wild times.
everything in tech gets overused. Like, that's just how
Yeah,
it happens. It's very new, it's very fresh, it's very exciting. It gets used to hell and back again, and then
yeah,
people go back and get a more reasonable approach to things. And we are definitely not in the reasonable stage, yeah, based
yeah,
on all the startups and all that.
yeah,
Like,
totally.
I am absolutely a big fan, big believer, and even with that,
Yeah,
like I know where we're going to end up is like 60% of what some of the big wigs are saying out there.
Yeah, totally. Side note, but Shruti Kuber over on LinkedIn is saying, "Hey Ray, so good to hear from you. Have been really enjoying your tutorials with Gen AI." So
Hey,
that's kind of a nice segue to just say, like, I know we're not doing any live coding today, but you've been digging into a lot of Gen AI with building things. What are some of the things you've been building? And I know you said it because you're kind of like got your hands in everything, so some things are kind of in a broken state, and I definitely feel that. So, but what kind of things have you been messing around with?
so so it's funny. So like for most of my life, whenever I would learn something new, I'd build fun toys with it. And
Yeah,
in my mind, I was motivated because it was fun. And B, I'm learning. And
yeah,
I turned that
totally.
into blogging material. And my assumption is that you saw Ray build something stupid with Gen AI or whatever.
Yeah,
But look at the code Ray used. It was actually fairly easy. And I could use this for a real business slash enterprise reason
yeah.
now that Ray has kind of made it easy. I had like almost the opposite thing for Gen AI, because
Okay.
like when I first started using, I was using ChatGPT. I wasn't coding or anything, just playing with it, and it was all like write a presidential speech in the form of a cat,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I would laugh and snicker. I thought it was great. The image stuff
yeah,
too, it was always ninja cats stuff like that. And
yeah.
so when I finally got to the coding part, I'm like, it's like I feel like everything I've done has been silly. Like, what are some like real world use cases for this?
Yeah.
Um, because I felt like people weren't going to be doing much chat interfaces like publicly.
Mhm.
Support, yeah. Like a documentation site, being able to
Yeah.
chat sometimes works very powerful. But I felt like Gen AI could do so much outside of that particular metaphor. So I kind of, not completely, of course, but I kind of like focused on like what would be like a real use case, and like even simple
Okay.
stuff like I have a PDF document. Here's the text. Summarize it. And at my previous job at Adobe, like we were always talking about, you have this influx of documents.
Mhm.
There's like too many documents. What can you
Yeah.
do to make life a bit easier? And I was like, you know what? Even if a Gen AI summary is off, if it's 80% there, if you have a million documents that you need to search, those summaries could be
Yeah.
great. Especially if you kind of like bake in the ability, oh, this summary is off. Let me quickly edit it, stuff like that. But things like that. Another demo I built, which I thought was freaking great, was just given a weather API,
Okay.
write a forecast. Because the API came back with high, low conditions, rain chances, pure
Okay.
data. And I was like, yeah, can you convert that to just like a sentence?
Mhm.
I've also done that with charts as well, and it's worked really darn good. I built a dashboard that had a couple of charts in it, and beneath it, it would just describe it. And it was all
Okay.
kind of common sense if you looked at the chart for 30 seconds. But like in
Yeah.
my mind, I was thinking, oh, I'm a CTO. I don't have I don't have 30 seconds. Bam. It's like, oh yes, all right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's cool. Also, Arvin in the chat is saying your animals floating in your lava lamp or whatever that is he's kind of like mesmerized by it. Is it like fake jellyfish in there or what is it?
It could be
Oh,
real.
oh yeah,
No,
could be. Yeah.
no, it's like a cheap plastic Amazon thing. So the story for that is that my wife and I were watching a video about some video game or whatever, and the woman speaking
Okay.
behind her had that. We paused the video, switched to Amazon, and found it and bought it like immediately. It was definitely an impulse
Okay.
buy.
Yeah, totally. Um, you were saying like, like, oh, what can I do that's like a real business case or whatever, Gen AI, and like definitely stuff like you're saying, like the PDFs and stuff, and like I'm writing some change log posts for work right now, and like so basically what I did was I took uh because some of the devs had written docs and then we also had a release notes. I just pasted those two docs into Claude and I just said, can you just generate a change log? So it's like it's our actual words, you know what I mean? But they're just pulling it in again. And like I've just found it's stuff like that for because like it's really good at text, obviously.
Yeah.
And I like sometimes like I just don't have time to read like a 10-minute thing, just give me the TLDR kind of. And I found it super useful for that too. But to your point about like making silly things, I think I think that's a really great thing to do because, one, it's fun to build,
Yeah,
but also I think silly things, at least in my opinion, I think they resonate better with people and it kind of sticks. Like,
yeah,
you know, you might not remember that Ray built a PDF thing, but you might be like, oh yeah, remember that thing where Ray connected AI to his floating jellyfish and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's and it's a great way to showcase like the power of a certain technology. So
yeah.
I definitely applaud you for making the silly stuff and don't stop making silly stuff.
I think, 30 plus years in dev, like there's always ways to do things. So like first half of my career, I was all server side code, and I was in a language called Cold Fusion, which is a
Oh yeah, yeah.
small niche, passionate community. But there was Cold Fusion, there was PHP, there was .NET. They all
Yeah,
did the exact same things, but they all had a way of doing it. And I think as a developer, if you know that these could all do it, but one of them
yeah,
is a lot easier to do, you're going to gravitate towards that just because it won't be
yeah,
painful to do what you need to do.
yeah. Side note, going back in the time machine, but I'm guessing you're probably doing a lot of cold fusion because like just a lot of Flash stuff too, like all Macromedia. Was that why?
Oh,
Or
no. I started my career web dev back in the old days,
okay,
everything. And we needed to do dynamic stuff on the server. And back then it was like Perl CGI scripts, and that was it. It was very hard to
yeah,
do stuff. And had a client who had a SQL Server DB, and I did not want to learn how to do that in Perl. And I think I didn't Google back then, but I searched.
yeah,
I found a layer cold fusion, and it talked about talking to a database, and I had
okay,
something working within 30 minutes, and spent the next
nice.
15 years doing cold fusion stuff.
Yeah, I think I might have done a couple tutorials, but like my intro to web dev was like I remember this so vividly. I gave a talk at Netlify Compose last year about HTML forms, but I was just talking about how I got into, you know, the internet and I don't think this exists anymore, but ISPs, when the internet service providers, when they came out, you used to be able to have space on their server to have your own page. And I remember, this is back when, like, I'm sure you remember, like having the counter that looked like a speedometer
Yeah.
and I followed some tutorial on some Usenet or something, and I had it all set up, and like I pushed it via FTP, not SFTP, because that didn't exist yet, I don't think. And I'm like, it's not working, and I discovered this is when I started learning about permissions,
Hmm.
and I was like, I literally had to call my ISP and say, "Hey, this is Nick. For my CGI bin folder, this particular script, can you give it read write access?" And like, I mean, obviously that wouldn't happen today, but
Yeah.
it was just kind of funny. Anyways, just going down memory lane a bit there, but
I fondly remember web page counters. Like, you would
yeah,
reload, and if it went up by more than 1, that means somebody else hit your thing.
yeah,
It was great.
exactly. Yeah, that and guest books. Um,
I built a
yeah.
guest book, last year, actually, just because I was like, "Why the heck not?"
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I built
It,
one.
it Yeah, it's also making me think of web rings, and I'm pretty sure you know my old coworker Salma from Netlify, or she created a web ring. I think it's a web component. It's a web component. So I have it on my website. So
Mm.
it's just kind of funny, just a bit of nostalgia and that stuff. Um, Arvin in the chat's asking, also, do you keep up with all the new AI changes in past, like we joke about JS frameworks launching every day, but multiple AI updates are happening every day too now. And it is true. It's like new things coming out all the time.
So there's 2 great answers to that, and I'll spread the just dev in general. I subscribe to multiple email newsletters.
Mhm.
One by, I can think of the guys, Peter, Cooper Press. Let me get this URL.
Okay. Yeah. Feel free to paste it.
Cooperpress.com. Yes, so cooperpress.com. If you go there,
Okay.
I'll put this in chat. You tell me if that works.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got it here. Let me just paste
Um,
it in the chat.
so They have newsletters for HTML front end, JavaScript, and a couple of more um, under their email newsletters. Yeah, JavaScript, front end,
Okay.
Ruby, yeah, all kind of stuff. So I subscribe to that. Also TLDR. And
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm part of that one too.
all
That's
right.
a good one.
They have a front end newsletter and they have an AI newsletter as well. And so a lot of times I just skim those emails and I make note
Yeah.
of it. Like, oh, there's a new API that does cowbell. I don't click. I just I try to store that so that in the future when I need cowbell, I'll know that it exists.
Yeah.
And it can be overwhelming. So I try very much like if I'm feeling overwhelmed, just erase
Yeah.
the email. Like the not today. Go away.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you, and sometimes you got a fever and you need more cowbell, so oh, man, that skit from Saturday Night Live still cracks me up. Yeah. No, there's a ton of resources. I also listen to, it's called the Leighton Podcast. It's, from Swix and I forget his co-host, but I just kinda listen to that. Like, some of it is really more academic sometimes, but I try to listen to that to keep up to speed with stuff too. But it's there's all kinds of stuff going on though, model context protocol. I was at All Things Open AI last week. I gave a talk, and that's all everybody's talking about. It came out like last year from Anthropic, I think, in November, but like it's I don't know, it's kinda like the new glue, they call it the USB-C of, AI apparently. So, but
I
there's
have right now like 2 tabs open on it. I know it's big and it's important, but just haven't had time to like really process it yet. But it's in my queue
yeah.
to get to eventually.
Yeah, like, yeah, there's more to it, but the TLDR, it's just a common protocol so you can communicate between agents, but there's a lot of people putting stuff out about it. So probably if people were interested in writing content, it's probably good to write about that right now if you're interested in AI. But yeah, there's so many tools out there, and like I haven't even used like there's something like Claude Desktop I haven't used yet.
Mm.
Got to look at that. There's Claude Code. There's like, um, but also I've been. Have you used Olama at all?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've been finding that interesting too because just having the models on your machine, like obviously not as powerful potentially because you're obviously not a cloud with like all kinds of machines, but I found that pretty cool in terms of like if you don't have internet, but also just if you don't want to pay for, like some of the models are pretty solid. Like I think it's Code Llama 3.2 is pretty decent, and like there's some others I can't remember which ones, but there's some that are really good for writing text. Again, obviously not as good as the cloud models potentially, but and I don't know. It's like wild wild west right now. It's like
You
it's
talk about costs. Like, I got into Gen AI because Gemini was free. Like, I
okay,
didn't
yeah,
want to pay for ChatGPT API access. Google had their Gemini APIs for free, and that's
okay,
how
yeah.
I started. And that was a big, big, big benefit for me is having a space to play and build and learn without having to worry about paying for anything.
Yeah. Is that still the case? I think I saw you post that the other day. It's like a really generous free tier.
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
have a couple features that you can't get at all for free.
Okay.
But for anyone learning, like 90% of what you could do with Gen AI, you could do for free with them.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No, that's interesting. I haven't looked at that's Gemini Studio, you said?
Gemini, as is Google's overarching branding.
Okay.
They have that and Vertex, which is not confusing at all. It's basically like Vertex is enterprise and you have to pay,
Okay.
and Gemini is free, but you can also pay for it.
Okay.
It's a little bit of confusing messaging from them, but I would recommend for anyone who wants to start, I'd go to Gemini because their SDKs and their
Okay.
APIs are easy, and you don't pay at all for it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely gotta check that out. And Arvin in the chat saying Gemini also launched a new image model, which is creating amazing results.
Yep. I
That,
have a blog post on it
all
actually.
right, cool, cool.
We
Yeah,
actually have
that's awesome.
two different models doing it. One is free, one is not,
Okay.
but you can absolutely get good results on the free one.
Okay.
Oh, and
No,
the
that's
paid
cool.
one is like 3 cents a image, so it's
Okay,
yeah, it's not
so
much.
it's pretty negligible if you even if you're a business, like
Yeah.
that's like nothing. Okay. Yeah, it's the whole I don't know. I find the whole image stuff it's cool, but obviously there's always bad actors, right? So like I don't know, it seems pretty wild with like deep fakes and all that. Like I mean deep fakes have been around for a couple of years I think, but it's just kind of mind blowing that, like you can record like 5, 10 seconds of your voice, take a few photos of yourself, and then you literally have a clone of you doing,
Yeah.
and saying whatever. It's like, again, a good thing, but also a very bad thing. But it's like, I don't know. But I mean, that's always the story with any technology. But I think it's just, to me, it just seems more like a deeper problem potentially because there's like all kinds of like just because like the age of social media and like you know people post stuff and then it's like even if people say it's not true later on it's like people either forget that that was said or like it's already out there and it's like I don't know it's just interesting times but yeah.
It's to show my age, there's an incredibly good cheesy movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger called The Running Man,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
movie entertainment is like the primary thing for the country, but they show like in the movie like video editing, changing the facts by just editing the video. It was very
Yeah.
very future seeing there a little bit.
Yeah. That said, it's like I don't know. Like I've been reading about there's like the AI influencer trend too. That seems a little weird to me, but I guess if you want to say, I don't even know if you're saving money. Maybe you are, but it's like, but I don't know. A lot of the video I've seen, like I think it was Sora. Like I've never messed with around with Sora, but these things look pretty good. There's still like some things, kind of like if like you've seen the Matrix movie. I'm sure it's like it looks real, but you still know something's off. Not like the six fingers kind of thing, but like there's just something about it that you can't pinpoint, but it just looks off. But I
Yeah.
think that's getting better and better every day. Like it's definitely gonna hit a point where it's like I have no idea if I'm live streaming with Raymond right now or not. Like
It's interesting in terms of image generation. One of the things I've done in the past is give a basic prompt, but then say make it look like an old weathered Polaroid. And because
okay,
the
yeah.
quality comes out old and kind of crinkly and broken, it passes for a lot more realistic because of those aged effects
Mhm.
on there.
Yeah. Side note, but I find it funny that Polaroid made a comeback. But I guess that's everything.
Well,
Like.
so you say that a couple hours ago, Napster. Remember Napster? It sold for
Yeah, yeah.
$200 million or something. I didn't even know Napster was still in business.
I did not
And
know that either. I
$200
did
million.
use it at one point, but
If anybody wants
or
to buy me for 200, 2 million, you can
yeah,
get
yeah.
yourself for cheaper.
Yeah, 2 million's enough. I don't wanna be greedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I didn't realize they were around at all still, like, cause like, what do they do still? Cause like, obviously, it's not pirated music. I imagine they have some kind of offering now of something else.
I couldn't be
Yeah.
bothered to look up like what they're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah, all I remember about that, well, aside from using it there was other stuff like LimeWire came out after, and there's a couple others, but I remember, I like Metallica, but I just remember them putting up a big, big stink about it,
Yeah.
and then this was in the age of Flash videos, and I just remember seeing all kinds of Flash cartoons where they were making fun of them complaining about it, but anyways. Yeah. Cool, cool. Yeah, I guess like so you've been doing demos and stuff, and you've been saying like you've obviously done DevRel for a while too. Like, just to kind of touch on this, if you're cool with it. But I know you're looking for your next role. Are you looking to dive more into AI in a dev role? DevRel capacity, or are you just looking for DevRel at any interesting company?
I would say at any interesting company because I need a job. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, I'm interested a lot in AI, also web platform, serverless, cloud, anything dev related.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm open to anything really. Hire me.
Yeah, and yeah, and I'll drop a link to where people can find you again. Yeah, because you've done all kinds of things. Like you've done a ton of web dev, and like obviously messing around with AI is definitely helpful. Like uh, I don't know, it's not going anywhere. If anything, it's just going to become more and more prevalent. Like it's I don't know. Like I wonder how far it'll go, but like another interesting thing I've noticed about AI is like a lot of companies that were like air quotes chat GPT wrappers or whatever, a lot of these platforms are just you don't even need that company anymore, it's like for example like your PDF thing, like I'm sure there was a company that's like, oh, let us transcribe your PDF or something, and and now you don't need that, and like I don't know, it's just I don't know, it kind of brings up an kind of like another topic in terms of product, because like I think it was my old CEO, B. Dougie, Brian Douglas over at Open Sauce. But like, you know, people say like I make a joke like, "Oh, I registered an AI domain. I just got 20 million in funding because I have an AI domain now." But I get the AI hype and like why people will publicize it. Like, this is our new like AI powered accounting software, and the AI part is really it's an implementation detail, and it's like just focus on the feature, like improve whatever in the accounting software, if people want to ask, yes, it's AI under the hood, but at the same time I also get it from a marketing standpoint and like VC funding, but it's you know at the end of the day it's you're just creating business value for people, and I think some of the hype overshadows that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to live with it for probably 2 or 3 more years. Like now, like no one really talks about cloud. It's just
Yeah.
assumed. No one really talks about serverless. It's just assumed if it makes sense for what you're building. It's just
Hmm.
there, and they
Yeah.
were extremely hyped for quite a while.
Yeah.
And those things are still wonderful. Like talking about web dev back in the old days in
Yeah.
ISP, it took like 48 hours to set up a website at the minimum. Now
Yeah.
I can have a live website in seconds. So
Yeah.
while it's just kind of baked in normal, natural, I still have a great deal of appreciation
Oh,
based
yeah.
on what I've seen in the past. So I think we'll see that with AI 5 years down the road, it just will be assumed to be part of your one part of your tool set, and you will
Yeah.
hopefully. I will appreciate it being there. New devs will be jaded and be like, "Oh, it's always been like this." Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, no, I feel that, like, having worked at Netlify, it's like it's just assumed like, I worked on the frameworks team, and it's just like you said, everybody just assumes cloud. It's insane how, like, fast things deploy, whether it's, like, Netlify, Vercel, Fly.io, or whatever. Because like, to your point about getting a site up in 2 days, the other thing was, like, DNS propagation, like,
yeah,
I don't know, I remember, like, even in the early 2000s, I remember sometimes it taking like 4 days, and like now it's like it's not always instant, but like within an hour I usually see things already propagating, and then like after a day it's pretty much everywhere, and sometimes even sooner. So it's like yeah, it's just wild, and like I don't know. The I know people say like because like I've done a lot of front end as well, and like people just say like, "Ah, things are so complex now," and they are, but at the same time, I think it's like such an amazing time to be a software developer. Like sure, like Vite's amazing. There's build tooling and all that stuff. Like I get it. You have all these things you're throwing in just to get a project started, but I don't know. It's like compared to what it was, I'm like I'm having the time of my life, and
yeah.
it's just
I feel like when I started, I had a grand total of like one tool, and now I have a
yeah,
large garage full, and that garage could be overwhelming. But really happy I have all those tools there.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, because like I don't know. The other funny things too I find is like because I did a lot of .NET back in the day, so like Visual Studio .NET, which I think it's just called Visual Studio now, but to me that's still like the top tier IDE. Like I've never used anything as good as it, but like I remember when I started doing TypeScript, like because I did TypeScript and React early on, like in 2015, and VS Code when it first came out, there was no extensions. It was literally like a glorified notepad for just
Yeah,
TypeScript. But as things evolved, there's like refactoring capabilities and stuff. And I found it kind of funny because like front ends were discovering refactoring tools, and these things have existed in like back end languages like forever. Like, so it's like I pressed F2 and I renamed it, and it's like I don't know, just to the point about like tooling's just better and stuff. Like web dev, like obviously we got by before, but it's just I don't know, it's just so much nicer. And like I don't know if you're a fan of TypeScript, but I am, and it's like even that alone has just been obviously JavaScript's a funny language being dynamic, but I've found TypeScript just bolted on top of it to be able to move a lot faster.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've not jumped on that train. I'm not opposed to it, but like I just don't naturally use it. And you still need a build step to
Yeah,
transpile it.
that's the thing.
So I
Yeah.
do my best in everything to avoid a build step if I can.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because like Node.js recently they have experimental. I started using that on a project, and it's just really nice because I'm always trying to reduce the dependencies I have. So like before I was using, I mean, obviously like for server side, like you could use something like there's like a TSX package, or there's a couple others, or you can strip the types. But this is nice because like now I can just like use the node debugger if I want to go into, and I'm in a TypeScript file, but I've just removed a dependency, or like Dino is the same thing. Like you just don't even need a dependency for that. It's like baked in TypeScript. So it's like, I don't know. It's yeah, there's just a lot going on in the space, and like I don't know. I know we're going a little off topic of Gen AI, but this always happens on live streams to go on tangents. But like even CSS is amazing now. Like I mean, not that it was terrible ever, but like I was talking with Adam Argyle a couple weeks ago because we were doing a show, and just like the amount of stuff that comes out of CSS like every few months now, it's like I don't even know what version it is anymore. I just call it modern CSS, but
Yeah.
it's like it's just wild.
I again, like half hour before this thing, I needed to do something in CSS. I knew it was possible, but my CSS knowledge is rudimentary. I
Yeah,
went to Gemini Code Assist. I described what I needed to do, and it spit out the exact CSS. It explained it, and I knew enough about CSS animation to like recognize that it wasn't spitting out garbage.
yeah,
Copied and pasted it, and it worked perfectly. Like that. That
nice.
to me was exactly what I want it to do for me. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I had a similar thing. Like, I started using Tailwind professionally at my last job. I was never against it, but like, I just hadn't used it really,
Mhm.
and I knew how to do these things in just plain CSS. So I was actually using Claude, or I might have started off with ChatGPT, but I was like, this is how I would do it in CSS. Give me the Tailwind classes,
Yeah.
and I found that like just in terms of getting superpowers, like I basically leveled up on Tailwind in a couple weeks. I mean, still learning some stuff obviously, but just stuff like that. Or we were talking about languages too. Like we had to write some Go at work, and I'm pretty new to Go. I mean, I've worked with typed languages, but it's just different. And just started asking Claude stuff, and then I kind of refined, my criteria, like for adding extra context, like
Mhm.
because I put up a pull request, and my coworker John, who's done a ton of Go, he was just like, "This is good Go code, but it's old Go code." So then he said like use version 1.22.5 or greater. So I added that to the instructions that anytime I ask a question, so like it would give me newer code and stuff like that. So like uh, one, it was just cool to be able to enhance the prompt with that extra information to get better results. But again, it just helped me level up again, and move fast. And
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and
I think it's
what's our
also a big deal to have these tools in your existing editor because you're not
yeah,
leaving, you're not searching online. I know Chrome and Edge both are adding things to their browser dev tools to explain errors in the console,
yeah,
and just not having to go in a new tab, search, look, and come
yeah,
back, just having
totally.
it there is really darn useful.
Yeah, no, definitely like switching context is like it's always a killer. So no, yeah, that's super amazing. And even like I've been using Cursor a lot, which I don't know, from what I've tried, like I use GitHub Copilot as well, because like the talk I gave last week was about Copilot extensions, and it's the same thing. Like you're in the context of things, so I think that's great. But it's yeah, it always throws me off. It's like you used to go to Stack Overflow or Google. Now, if you can just access it right in there, it just makes so much more sense. And I th- I think to your point about the browser dev tools, I think Chrome also is adding I think a local model on the global, like a .ai.
Yep.
I haven't used it
I'm
yet, but
I'm giving a presentation on that next week, and I've blogged about it a couple of times, and
okay, cool.
it's definitely rough, but it's an early access preview, so it's kind of meant to be rough. But the
Yeah,
glimmers of what's possible is really, really good. And even if no other browser accepts it, or
yeah,
does enhancement, like you can add it where it makes sense. And Chrome has a pretty good chunk of the share out there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
very powerful on device. You can use it offline even after the model is downloaded, and private too, because it's not doing an API call.
yeah. That's the other thing that's huge. That's why, like, even like I was saying with Olama, like you're not going out to the internet, so you're guaranteed privacy. So it's kind of interesting that it's going to be baked into the browser. And yeah, and like you're saying, like Chrome has the market share. Like I mean, Microsoft Edge is Chromium under the hood. Brave browser. Like I mean, there's Safari still. Firefox is having a bit of a rough go, I think. Like that was my go-to back in the day. Like I after IE6, which was amazing in its time, I switched over to it wasn't Firefox at that point. It was just Mozilla,
Yeah.
and it was so much better. But then the tides turned again. I remember 2009 trying Chrome, and I just started using it for my personal use because I couldn't use it at work yet because like it just didn't support. You still had to support IE and Firefox basically, but they they crept up pretty quickly. It was pretty mind blowing, but yeah, but yeah. Cool, cool. Yeah, I guess just doing a time check here because I just want to be mindful of your time. Yeah, we're at almost 11:30. I don't know if there's any other things you wanted to touch on Gen AI, or like you said you're giving a talk soon. I don't know if you have any links you want to send me over. I can just go and self promote you there in the chat.
I am speaking at Arc of AI in Austin next week,
Okay.
and I will put that URL, although it is arcofai.com. You never want to guess at a URL and share it because if you're wrong, it's going to be
Yeah, yeah,
wrong. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm talking about Gemini, so just Gen AI server type stuff,
Okay.
and then like 45 minutes later, talking about the Chrome AI stuff. Which again, like I'll warn people listening: if you go look at it now, it is
Yeah.
rough, but
Okay.
incredibly promising. I think.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And I imagine is that Chrome specific or is that in Chromium? Uh, do you know? Or
I think it's Chromium because I know in Edge, I had a demo that wasn't supposed to work because it was Chrome only, and
oh, okay.
I saw it like partially working. So I think it's getting there as well.
Okay. Cool, cool. No, that's good to know because I know like sometimes like they're obviously based off the same open source browser, but sometimes like Chrome will just have different things, because it's the commercial product. But okay, that's good to know.
I have no
Yeah, and
idea if Microsoft plans to make it formally work or not. I can't imagine them not. And I know that the Chrome team, they're trying to work uh, openly and have it like based on a specification and not just be, their little toy per se. They want it to be like a formal spec.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. And I feel too like for the polyfill, I yeah, I mean I don't know how it all works, but like I wonder if you could like polyfill it with well no, you'd have to have Olama running, I guess. But like it'd be interesting if you could detect if somebody has Olama if it's not supported and then maybe try using Olama. I don't know if that would work, but
So Transformers JS, which I've played with a little bit, allows you to do similar things.
okay.
I wouldn't call it apples to apples, I guess,
Yeah.
but it does allow you to do stuff in the browser as well. It's a very
Okay.
powerful library. It works pretty darn good so far. So you have that option as well.
Okay. Cool, cool. So yeah, so you're giving that talk, and I dropped links where people can find you. That's got your. I'll explicitly drop RaymondCandom.com, but that's where your most of your blog posts are, right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, cool. Let me just drop that, and yeah, because I have a lot of reading to do now since you've been dropping all these knowledge nuggets. Let's see here. Let me just go drop that over on YouTube as well. Um, cool, cool. I guess. To kind of I think we can probably wrap things up here. Like I'll ask like kind of a softball cheesy question, but what are you kind of excited for in AI? Like obviously Gen AI, but like any exciting things coming up that you're pretty pumped about, or just in general, just hyped or
Uh, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of companies who are building simplifications online, which I think is
yeah.
is pretty is pretty good. Pinecone, I
Okay.
did one or two blog posts on them, but like they just kind of handle the grab a couple documents, make a RAG API out of it. They like
Okay.
simplify that, even though like I know how to do that like by hand. Uh,
Yeah.
Having that simplification is very nice.
Yeah.
Llama Index I've looked at recently, and the
Okay.
stuff
Yeah.
that they have like on top of even things like just recording and logging your AI calls, so you can see responses and see like the history and all that. To me,
Okay.
that's on top of, but is the side stuff around the core APIs that I think can provide a lot of value to people.
Yeah. Cool, cool. Yeah. No, yeah, yeah. I still have to talk to Lori over at Llama Index. Should probably get him on the stream here just to chat about it because they make things a lot easier and like you said, the tracing is a big one because that's the kind of like right now it's like you ask something and you have no idea where it's going, what it's doing. Like I mean, it's thinking but who knows where it's hitting stuff, right? So it's like, yeah, no, that's super cool. Awesome. Well, Raymond, I gotta say this was fun chatting, and I encourage everybody to check out all your blog posts. And I don't know if the talk's going to be recorded or not for Arc of AI or not.
No clue.
Okay. So if you can get to Austin, go see Raymond do awesome stuff. Aside from that, yeah, check out the blog posts. And you also have, are a lot of the demos you've been done, are they mainly on GitHub or are they referenced in the blog posts or?
Yeah, the reference in the blog post, but also link to a GitHub repo as well.
Okay. Cool, cool. So yeah, so if you just check on Raymond's website, you can access his GitHub too. And awesome. This has been really great. I want to thank Lord Fluffy Cat, the third Duke of Mousedown, for joining us today. Awesome stuff, Raven. Thanks everybody in the chat for the questions. And gonna be off for a little bit, but I'm gonna be back. I'm traveling for a bit right now, but I think the next live stream I'll drop the schedule. I'm gonna be hanging with Corbin Crutchley. We're gonna be talking about TanStack Form, which just hit 1.0. So check that out in, I think that's after I get back on like the 24th or 25th of April. But yeah, check that out. And thanks everybody. And Raymond, if you don't mind just staying on for one sec. And thanks again, everybody.